Hey, what's up, and welcome to another episode of Celebrity Expert Live. My name is Greg Rollett, and once again, I am joined by my co-host, Emmy Award-winning director, Mr. Nick Nanton, and we're coming to you from the America's Premier Expert set today, right? So we kind of rearranged back over to this side. We got a fun episode, and it's because we have a very special guest with us today, and why don't you introduce our special guest for everyone?
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to talk to you guys about a lot of cool stuff today. We've got, we're going to be talking about, we've had a lot of questions about how can I use speaking in New York City with Ivanka Trump and Harry Dent and all this stuff in my business? How can I make it work? And as I was thinking about that, I figured I'd bring on this good friend of mine, Mr. Reid. Roy, thanks for joining us today, man.
I am glad to be here.
Good, man. Well, it's glad to have you. And we've been trying to work this out for like a year now, but you're finally here on the set. And one of the things that I think people just don't understand is whether they're speaking, writing, managing a company, whatever it is, how to build trust effectively. And we'll talk again how that relates to speaking in New York and all that later.
Yeah.
But so Roy is the author of the forthcoming book, Outrageous Trust.
Yes.
And Roy, I know you've been talking about the subject for years now. Let's talk a little bit about what got you to there. I mean, what made you stop and think, wait a minute, people don't know how to build this kind of trust?
Well, I've been 25 years as a public relations consultant. I've worked with companies all over the country. And what I found in a lot of my work, particularly in the crisis and issues management side, is companies that were more intentional about building trust in the relationship had a much better time getting through difficult times and really excelled in the good times. And so as I began to break apart, what is it that makes trust work? How does it work? And what are the things that those organizations were doing consistently to really make a difference in a deeper, more meaningful relationship, whether it's with employees or customers, vendors, or even in the community?
Very good. So give us an example of how this really works.
So the way trust works is it's built on two major drivers. One's an emotional driver, and then the other's experience. And so we all know examples of that. People in our family, we have a deep emotional connection to. So there's a level of trust with them that's different than, say, the people we work with. And then there's people we work with that we know from experience can do a thing better than anybody else. And we may trust them to do that thing, but we may not necessarily have that emotional connection with them to trust us with personal things that matter at our core. And so understanding just that part of it alone gives us some insight on the things that we do consistently to either build trust or to tear it down.
So how do we, the people we work with, I mean, is there a level of trust we should attempt to get to? I mean, so obviously you might trust a guy to shoot the video, but maybe not to pick up your kids on time at school, right? So where are we trying to get to? What's the balance at work?
Well, look, I call the program Outrageous Trust because I think I want people to understand that average just doesn't cut it, particularly in a market that we live in today where transparency and that connection is so important to people. And so as I look at both the emotional and the experiential side, I want people to dig even deeper and get really granular with the idea that at the cornerstone of it lies the idea of being trustworthy and breaking that into smaller parts, things like integrity, attitude, focus, and being a part of something bigger than yourself. And then looking at things like authenticity, that personal connection we make, understanding your purpose and having that clarity. And then on the experiential side, I want them to understand what dependability means as it relates to that consistent, reliable performance, that's your brand. That's what people come to expect from you. And then on the outliers, the idea of being influential wherever you are, making a difference where you are, and having the courage to finish those things out too.
Wow, so as the leader of a company watching this, right? I mean, let's break this down into some actionable things they can do to actually start building trust in all those facets.
First and foremost, I would tell them to exercise an idea that sometimes isn't real comfortable for a leader, but it's the idea of humility. Be willing to take a step back and realize that it's not about you, that other people contribute to that. I learned a very interesting and somewhat difficult lesson from my own daughter when it relates to trust. And Nick, you've heard me tell this story before, but you can see the bracelet that I'm wearing here. My daughter made this for me when she was 7 years old. And when she brought it to me like any daughter would, like a child does whenever they make something to you, she said, "Daddy, will you wear the bracelet?" I said, "Sure, I'll wear it." So I put it on, and for the rest of the weekend, I was show and tell. I go to work the next Monday morning, I got to put a suit on, I get it on, take the bracelet off, leave it on the dresser. Later that night, I get home, my daughter comes up, had made a different bracelet, different colored beads. She says, "Daddy, if you didn't like that one, would you wear this one?" Well, that breaks a father's heart. I had unintentionally broken trust with my own daughter. And that's what happens every day. The little things that we do or don't do cause that to happen. And when a leader can exercise humility, take a big step back, realize that all the things that they say or do affect that relationship, they become more mindful of it and more intentional. And so the first step is to take responsibility for those relationships.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that story relates really well to businesses, right? Because you take the first step in a business relationship and you start to build that trust, and then the business owner does something to lose that trust.
Right.
And it is really, a father-daughter relationship. You're going to be able to build that trust back, especially when they're 7. Maybe difficult when they're 16, right? But at 6 or 7, a little easier. But a business owner, when they make that mistake of breaking trust, it is very difficult to regain that trust. So let's talk about A, how to make sure that we never lose that trust. But B, if we do fall off, how do we climb back?
So let me take a shot at the second part of that question first, because it goes back to the bracelet, right? So I put the bracelet back on and I wear it every day because it reminds me of 2 things. 1, I promised my daughter I would do something, and 2, every little thing I do makes a difference in building trust. So the first thing, if you're exercising that humility, is to exercise an apology. And when you take responsibility for the relationship, it means that you're going to be the one that steps up and says, hey, I made a mistake. Allow me to fix that. And in most cases, human beings, by their very nature, are going to let you fix that first mistake. If it happens consistently, that's a performance issue. And that's why it's important to understand that that experience that they have with you matters every time. And when you can break trust down into smaller parts, it gives you a better view of what necessarily needs to be fixed. So you know whether you broke it on the emotional side or the experiential side. You'll know that you either violated at the very core of your trustworthiness, maybe you lied, that's an integrity problem. That's a bigger one to overcome than, say, not delivering the product on time.
Right.
And so understanding all the little pieces and parts of it give you a better diagnosis and how to fix it and go after it.
One of the things I see in this all the time is really 2 simple ways to keep that from happening. For all intents and purposes. I mean, there's going to be times where things just happen, but setting expectations is a huge one, because people just are so bad at that. And again, even just an example of your own life, like you said you're going to wear it, but you and your daughter didn't have a meeting of the minds on for how long.
For how long, right?
Yeah.
So I thought the weekend was good. Apparently it wasn't.
What more do you want from a man? The setting expectations and then communicating, because I have scenarios all the time where I don't know exactly what I'm getting into. I think this happens to a lot of us. So we're doing a new documentary project, or we're doing a commercial, and we're doing an animation or something, and someone's asking for something, and I tell them, you know what, I don't see any reason why we can't do X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And sometimes midway, sometimes 3 steps in, I learn what a different outcome we might have.
Yeah.
But I've always found that, people aren't always thrilled, but if you just nip that in the bud and say, hey, here's the deal, I just realized I didn't understand this, or here's what's happening, or here's why. And so let's communicate, is it cool if we push it back a day? Or, the ones that frustrate everyone the most is when the communication doesn't exist, the day comes when you're expecting to have it for your big event, and that just doesn't show up. And then you irately call the person who was supposed to deliver to you, like, oh, I forgot to tell you, or, oh, yeah, we can't do it, then we can have it to you tomorrow. Well, it's now useless to me, right?
So this is what I love about Nick, because he gets a step ahead of everything. You've hit on what I've identified as the 3rd guiding principle of managing outrageous trust. The first being take responsibility for the relationship. The second being build it from the inside out. You have to build trust. Hold yourself accountable to that higher ideal before you can expect it of others. 3rd, communicate consistently. Make sure that the information's getting out there that it has to. If you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And they may not have your best interest in mind. And then the 4th guiding principle is to be a good steward of trust. Make sure that you're bringing people into your inner circle that are at that same level. You will be judged by those that you hang out with. You will be judged by the people that work for you. And you've got to make sure that they've got that. In addition, be a good steward means give what you have. Make sure that you're taking a portion of what you've been given and giving that back and making a difference in the place that you are.
Yeah, I think going even back to the 3rd, communication, but the big word there was consistent, right? So consistency is really big, right? So Nick, you and I doing these shows every week, right? Builds consistent communication of who we are, what we do. We've joked about it before, but the person who's watched all 27 whatever episodes of these things for an hour long each, there's a lot of trust that's built up, because for 27 weeks they've watched us and they know what we do. Newsletters. You send a newsletter every single month that arrives in the mailbox at the same time every month. They read your message, they see your photos. It's building consistency over time, that really builds trust because now you're reliable, you're dependable, you show up on time, you do the things that you're supposed to do. And I think a lot of people miss that fact, right? Same thing, with like books. You come out with a new book every year because you're coming out with your new message. You're doing this. You're consistently doing things in the media. And we talk about it when we talk about things. They maybe go through one of our programs and they don't know if they should do another one. Well, you consistently want to be doing things to elevate your brand. You can't just be in one place once and ride it. You can't be the hairdresser of the stars from 30 years ago.
That's right.
Right? So consistency through that communication is a really big word in that entire process.
I agree. And let's talk, you mentioned a word that's a real buzzword right now, but I think a lot of people aren't sure what to do with it, authenticity, right? So talk about how that plays in this whole thing.
So people want to have a real connection with you. They don't want something that feels like it's manufactured or fake. And that begins when you understand and can clearly articulate your purpose. That sets a framework of consistency. When you know your purpose, when you show up and you deliver on a regular basis, people get that. But from purpose, we have to realize that we need to respect everyone. You're not going to get along with everyone. You're going to have tough relationships to get through. So you've got to give respect, though, because that's a license to come back and re-engage. Once you get that respect, you can operate with a sense of candor, openness, talk about difficult things, address difficult issues. When you're candid with people, you better be ready to exercise forgiveness. And I want to make a note on that word because a lot of people get confused when you use the word forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about the other person, it's about you. It's about letting go of things and having that ability to move on through a difficult situation. When you have all of those things in place, you have transparency, and transparency is that license to that authentic relationship that you're going to have.
That's great, Roy. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, Greg, let's talk a little bit about how this relates to some of the questions we've been asked about this big event in New York City. What is the event? First of all, it's the Success in the New Economy Summit. It's our second annual one. It's held by the National Association of Experts, Writers, and Speakers. That name alone is a trust-building name. That's why we named it that, to give people a position in the marketplace. Not only are you going to be able to speak in New York City in Times Square at an economic summit, which we're going to film, we'll talk about that, but you're also going to be able to use, if you want to, the association and the leverage of Harry Dent, the economist who is on TV, on the news, everything all the time, and Ivanka Trump, who is a burgeoning name in the industry. One of the things I was telling, as people have been asking me, well, tell me about Ivanka. I mean, I've heard her name before, but why would you want to share the stage with Ivanka? Well, Ivanka is the equivalent of buying buying stock in a major company that, like in Facebook, like 3 years before it hit, right? I mean, she's grinding it out, doing great work. Vice president of, I think, development at the Trump organization. She has a fashion line, a pretty large fashion line.
New York Times bestseller.
New York Times bestselling author. She certainly grew up in a way most of us did not, but some of the principles that got her dad to where he is, she learned, and she can articulate them very, very well. And I think it's also cool that she's leading the design of all their new hotels. So she's a heavy hitter, and she's kind of the heir apparent to the Trump throne. And so Donald Trump, very difficult to get somewhere. Ivanka Trump, for now, you can get her. That's why we got her. And Harry Dent, an economist, he makes predictions. Not always right. I mean, that's what happens to any person who is making predictions these days. But he gets out there and he gets a ton of media coverage. And whether or not you agree with his predictions or not, the key to this is you're going to be set on the same platform. So just the same way CNBC and Fox News ever wants its predictions, you get the subconscious leverage of pairing that with someone like him to where, your voice is on par with his. You have an equal voice, right?
So, going along with that, I mean, the names like Trump, like a Branson, those names carry trust, right? When you say it's a Branson company, there's automatic trust in that. When you say it's a Trump company, there's automatic trust in that. And so you're being able to use that celebrity association to build trust with your audience, right? So I think that's step one. Two is, just the fact that you're speaking at an event where you are giving your thoughts, your opinions of authority, your position on success. I mean, that instantly builds trust, because who do we trust? We trust speakers, right? We trust people who are in the media delivering us the news. We trust whether it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, but we trust that person that's giving us the news. We trust speakers. We trust people that host shows. We trust the people who have control of an audience, and we're giving you that platform to be seen speaking at an economic summit in New York City. All of that is really geared towards building trust to position you as the go-to authority in your marketplace.
Absolutely, and not only are you going to get a full photo shoot, so you can be featured on we're going to send you a commemorative movie poster featuring you as one of the main speakers of the event, alongside Dent and Trump. And if you don't want one of them on the poster, you just want yourself, we can make that happen. That's not a problem.
Yeah. But
Secondarily,
let's talk about that. So movie poster, right? So
Yeah.
you see a big movie poster, we trust that that's going to be a good movie, right?
We have a subconscious belief that if something is on a movie poster, it's big. It's big time. It's
and
a big
again,
deal.
another trust building factor that when people walk in your office, they see, wow, he's a movie star. They associate it with that, and again, helps to build the trust in the relationship. So keep going.
Yeah, no, so we're going to have that photo shoot. You're going to get to meet Ivanka Trump. I'm going to do a fireside chat with her, interview her for about 30 minutes and pull a lot of, just her insights out of her. Again, extremely articulate, one of the most intelligent people I've ever spoken with.
Yeah.
And then also, you're going to get to meet her, take your picture with her on the red carpet, which is Celebrity Association, but not just celebrity expert in the business world.
Yeah.
Celebrity Association there. And so you get your photo taken with her. You're also going to meet Harry Dent and get to hear from him his economic predictions and projections for this kind of new world we're living in, as well as then you're going to get your photo with him on the red carpet. You can get his books autographed if you want. Any way you want to use that positioning, all good.
Yep.
And then that day, the rest of the day on the 20th, we're actually going to spend filming you speaking on the same stage. We're going to empty out the room for you, just the crew's in there, and we're going to allow you to be your authentic self. We're going to have no one in the room judging you. We're just going to be filming you, and we're going to film you in the way that will present you the best. We're going to film you in a documentary style, not a contrived style, not super slick looking. It's just going to be documentary style. It's going to look like you were speaking at a major event in New York City, which it is, and then you'll get to use that position and the video for an awful long time in your business. Everyone who came to the first annual one last year, we had Steve Forbes, went really great. We have multiple people coming back again because they want to share a different part of their message. Again, you talk about building that continuous thing on. How is it continuous? Well, they got not asked to just speak 1 year, but 2 years.
Right. Again, that's trust, right? Because now I'm consistently being, chosen, selected as this expert who's been, chosen to fly into New York City and be at an economic summit. I mean, that is trust building in and of itself.
It is, and the thing about it is when you go out in the marketplace and you tell people you're selected to speak at an economic summit in Times Square in New York City alongside Ivanka Trump and Harry Dent, I don't know that it can get a whole lot better for that. And that, look, just getting the type of footage we're going to give you and that positioning is worth far more than what it costs to do the event because we're able to do the event as a group with everybody, right?
Right.
So you get the cost savings there. Not only that, there's also an opportunity to be on CNBC and Fox News with a clip from your interview if you'd like. And so not only are we giving you the position, we're now giving you media credentials, credibility, the Celebrity Association. It's an amazing deal for what we've put together.
Yeah.
It's a whole marketing program. We'll put out a press release for you saying you're able to keynote this event. We're going to do lots of cool stuff. You're going to be able to use the photos, the videos as they come out, the movie poster. It's just an awful lot of deliverables. I want to make sure people understand that. We had a lot of people are like, I'm interested, but I don't exactly understand how I might use this.
Yeah.
But how you use this is you use this in your business, in your marketing process. First of all, you start by saying, hey, I was selected to speak in New York City alongside these greats. I'm going to keep you posted. When you land in New York City, hey, I just got to New York City, can't wait. I'm heading over to the Marriott Marquis for the Success in the New Economy Summit. Hey, I just, Ivanka Trump is speaking here as well. Here's me with Ivanka. I mean, just the social media stuff alone, just up to that is great.
And then add the photos into your newsletters, add the photos into your sales letters. Last year before the Forbes event, I was working with one of our clients on the marketing side, and we developed a little letter that they sent out to all their clients and said, hey, I'm going to meet Steve Forbes. So in this case, I'm going to meet Ivanka Trump, and I might be able to ask her a question. What question do you want me to ask her? You're now involving people in the process.
Right.
So again, you're building more trust with and better relationships with your clients for it. You really can use this stuff for a long time, right? It's not a one-shot, one-trick pony. We've been kind of starting to coin the term like a trust box, right? Shock and awe package, whatever it is. We're giving you the components.
Right.
You're going to have video now. You can get that video transcribed and turn it into a special report. You're going to have the press release. You're going to have the movie poster. Can you make the movie poster into like an 11 by 17 and roll it up like a little treasure map to put it in there, autograph it in there, and then put a little letter and said, Nick, when you came in the office last week, we had a great conversation. I wanted to send you this package just to show you a little bit about my predictions for the economy or my, success system. Hope that we can do business together. I mean, we're handing all of that to you to build you up as the celebrity expert, build you up as the most trusted expert authority in your marketplace.
Absolutely, and we're also going to give you some media coaching and training beforehand with our media trainer, Jess, so you'll be ready to go. We're filming it so we can edit. We can make any edits we want. We have multiple cameras. We can make sure you look really smart. It's going to be about a 10-minute speech. You can speak about anything you want, by the way. You can speak about how the economy is affecting your industry. You can speak about how you're affecting the industry. You can give practically a sales presentation if you want. You can speak about whatever you want, and then also if you don't like speaking, we can do this. We can sit you on the stage.
Yeah.
And I've been in multiple events where, well, like Ivanka, I'm going to be interviewing Ivanka. Well,
Right.
I'll be able to interview you too.
Yeah.
And so if you want to be interviewed by Greg or myself or Lindsay or any of us, and you don't just want to speak, we could interview you as well. So lots of cool stuff. So not only that, all that positioning, all that media, but then also the ability to be on CNBC and Fox News. Huge opportunity. If you want more information, you can email info@dnagency.com. That's info@dnagency.com, or you can call our 800 number, 800-980-1626, and ask to speak with an agent. They can get you the link to apply. We are filling up, as well as time is running short. This is in June 18th, 19th, 20th in New York City. Be an awesome event. Lots of amazing people to be there with, network with, do business with, get ideas from. Going to be a great event. Going to be some great people there. We look forward to having you, but you got to make sure you get in on it. info@dnagency.com. And until then, Greg, we'll continue to find you ways to build outrageous trust. And we'll see you again. We want to thank Roy again for being our guest today, and we'll see you guys soon.
We'll see you next week.